Well, let's head off to remake territory. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. Today we're going to hit the rails once again, but before we do that, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Join me here, great, would appreciate that. Earlier last year, I did a series of reviews where I did the original film and then the remake and see how they matched up to each other. Well, we're going to do that here once again because we just talked about Terror Train last week, and today we're going to talk about the remake that dropped back in October of 2022 on Tubi. And if you want to check it out, Tubi's a free app you can download to your TV or whatever device you use to stream movies, and you can check this film out if you're interested. It didn't get a lot of hype. I remember a trailer was released and it kind of got released on Tubi, but I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. There's a few reviews out there, but not much really. And there's not a whole lot of info on the production other than they shot this up in Quebec, Canada. Other than that, so we're just going to get into this son of a bitch. Now, this film, just like the original film, this film hits a lot of the same beats. Instead of a New Year's Eve party, they're having a Halloween party on this train. And in the beginning of the film, we see them play a similar prank on Kenny. He goes nuts. We actually see the ambulance taking Kenny away off to the nut house, I guess. And he's gone. And then we fast forward a few years, and now they're seniors, and they're going to hit the train for a Halloween bash. And there's a magician on board, just like the first film. David Copperfield did not come back, so he's not here. But we do get a guy doing more extreme magic, like sticking a knife in himself and cutting his arm, stuff like that, illusions of that sort. But we have the same characters are here, the same character names. There's even one callback costume. The one kid's dressed up like the lizard from the first film. The costume's a little modified, but it's kind of in the same vein. All the other costumes and the masks the killer wears, because he does switch masks in this film, are different. And actually, I think they're a little bit of an upgrade, except for the Groucho Marx mask from the beginning, which I really, for the original film that I really like, that does not show up here. But the newer masks, I think, are a little bit of an upgrade. And basically, somebody starts killing people off one by one. Eventually, some of the bodies are discovered, and they realize there's a problem on the train, and the killer just starts plowing through these kids that were involved with this prank on Kenny a few years ago. And eventually we find out who the killer is, and they do make a twist at the end. This film, again, like I said earlier, this film takes a lot of the same beats as the original film. There's not much of a difference in terms of where the story's going, other than the settings on Halloween instead of New Year's Eve. I mean, there's definitely different dialogue and such like that, and it's updated for today. But for the most part, it hits the similar beats. It's not until the end, our finale, that things change from the original film. Kenny does show up on the train, and Elena confronts him, and he ends up getting shot by the magician. See, they do the same thing, the red herring thing, where they try to make you think the magician is the one killing everybody. But eventually Kenny makes his appearance, which the way they shoot it, though, Elena has this confrontation with the mask killer in the car, similar to the original film, where the conductors and the people that are watching the train hang out. And she gets away, and then she's going down this hallway, and all of a sudden Kenny comes out of this other room. So you know whoever she was fighting is not the same person. It's not Kenny. It can't be Kenny. There's no way. Or if there's got to be two killers. So she confronts Kenny. She tries to get away, even though Kenny doesn't get aggressive towards her, but he's definitely creepy. And the magician shows up. They think Kenny's trying to hurt her, and he shoots him and kills him. Well, the killing's not over, because soon the bodies keep piling up, including the magician gets killed once again. And Elena gets the one conductor takes Elena with the head conductor, Carney, who's played by a woman this time instead of Ben Johnson from the original. And she tells the other conductor to go try to find a magician's gun so they can use it against this killer, and she'll keep Elena there to keep her safe. And this is when the main twist happens that separates this film from the original film. Here, Carney is actually Kenny's mother, and she is the one taking vengeance on these kids who messed up her son. And she is totally off the reservation, but thinks she's doing it for the right reasons, for getting back at these kids for messing her son up so badly. And we have our final confrontation, and Elena does get stabbed, and she does take on damage, but she manages to push Carney out of the back of the train and she lands on the tracks in a pretty poor CGI shot. This is one of the moments where the effects, definitely you could tell they didn't have a big budget because they didn't film it for real, and the CGI looks bad. It does. It looks very, very bad, like Sci-Fi Channel bad. And then we have a happy ending, or so we thought. And then at the end, they show one last shot of Carney open her eyes while she's laying on the tracks, where there's no way she could survive, and that's the end of the film. But I gotta be honest, this wasn't a bad remake. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's not an improvement on the original because they basically take the same formula exact, except for moving on to Halloween, and they switch up the ending with a twist. Other than that, this is basically the exact same movie, only with different actors, obviously, some updated dialogue, and it's gorier. They definitely do show more blood during the kills. They actually show some of the kills happening instead of like in the original film, as we discussed. We only see the aftermath. We don't see so much as the act. In this one, they definitely go for more blood. And it all looked pretty real, the blood effects and all that. It didn't look CGI to me. The only really blatant CGI shot was the end when she pushes Carney out of the back of the train. That's definitely, I mean, there was some shots of the train that looked like it was CGI, but it was pretty well done and well matched. That was the one shot that really stood out as really not looking so good. The actors, I don't really know any of these actors. Some of them look familiar because my wife, like I'm sure a lot of wives out there, watches Hallmark. Some of the actors I've seen in Hallmark movies, but I'm not really familiar with any of their work. But for the new Elena is pretty damn good, and all the other actors are pretty good. So the actors do what they got to do to get what they need to do across. So I'm not complaining about the acting. The directing's all right. I would say the lighting is definitely more brighter. There's a lot more color in the lighting. Now, given that they're setting this on Halloween, I can see why they took advantage of that to get more color in it. Where the original, there wasn't so much color just because it was the early 80s and it was set on the train. They shot on a real train. Here they probably, I'm taking a guess here, they shot this on sets, not a real train like the original did in a warehouse. Here they probably built the sets, I would assume. But overall, it's directed okay. It's not nothing special, but it's a workmanlike job and it gets the job done. On the downside, I think the familiarity of what was going on, considering they stuck so closely to the original film, there's a lot of been there, done that with this film, especially watching it back to back like I did. Watching the original film, watching this film. I mean, this review's coming out a little later than when I watched this, but when you watch it in that setting, on its own, if you're far removed from seeing the original for a while, you probably have a perfectly fine time with this. It's a very serviceable slasher film. It wasn't definitely a piece of trash. It was decently made, decently acted. The kills are a little bit more amped up. And the twist at the end, I actually didn't mind the twist at the end, although it was obvious that Kenny wasn't the one she just had a fight with. So either it was two killers or Kenny's not the killer, which that's what ends up being that Kenny wasn't the one killing anybody. His mother was the one killing everybody. So those are the main differences. This is nothing special. It's nothing groundbreaking. Although, like I said with the original film, it's a solid slasher film, but it was, it didn't ever hit the annals of Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street or films like that. But the original was a decent, solid slasher film that I've always enjoyed. This one was an okay, I had a good time with it. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it wasn't awful. And I'm actually looking forward to watching the sequel. At the end of the day, I'd give the Terror Train remake a 6.5 out of 10. I had a good time with it for what it was. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I thought a 6.5 out of 10 is pretty much where I think this movie should be. So let me know down below. Have you watched this remake yet? Are you interested in it? Again, you could download Tubi for free and check it out. I think if you're a horror fan, I think it's worth checking out at least once. Leave a comment down below. Let me know if you've seen it. Hit the thumbs up and subscribe button. Share this video. I would appreciate that. I'll be back soon with the sequel to the remake of Terror Train. But until then, bye.